Welcome to part 2 of my fearful spoiler vlog. So in case you haven't watched the video, the first part yet, you're going to have to go and watch it because today we're taking part right from where we left off and you're not going to get it if you don't watch the video first. So let's begin. If you have watched the video, be sure to subscribe because I will keep coming. Yes, this channel is new, but I will keep coming with more book reviews and book vlogs with you guys. And let's start. So in our last video we stopped at a scene where Mara was like sitting at beside Kit's bed, and then she was like staring at him, observing him, and recalling some memory of her. And that is when we know that, yes, the spoiler, Mara loved an ancient Azer. Yes, one of the ancient Azer lines that used to be her house partner or something, and it is hinted that it didn't end well. And Mara is now wondering, maybe this time could be different, or maybe it will not, maybe she can try and everything. So, and then Kit wakes up as he's wondering all that, and Mara explains that she is summoned because Kit is, again, another step closer to death now. And then Kit wakes up and tells Mara, our favorite quote that I know that you highlighted if you've read Fearful. That is, I would have believed you were a deity if only you said so. I would not have questioned worshipping something so divine. This line is just so nice. It just shows how much the tension between Kit and Mara is, and Mara is obviously having some butterflies in her stomach. And we see some very sweet scenes about Kit making up on his promise to teach Mara how to live, and we get cutesy scenes when they bake. And we also see Blair and Lenny come here. Blair explains, oh, in case you haven't catched through, Blair likes to bake. Blair wanted to be a baker, but her mother didn't want her to be that. So yeah. In this scene, we get cute scenes of both of the couple as they both, it's like Kit is teaching Mara how to live and Blair is also teaching Lenny how to cook and things like that. So they're both enjoying it. I'm finding it that we're really enjoying it. And then we get a scene that is just went straight from to crushing us in our hearts like that. Because then we see from Mara's POV, she goes into the Azer where they train, and Kit is now proposing Kai to spar with him. Yeah, that scene where Lauren just foreshadowed the Kit I forgot thing. It was just very tragic. Please don't ever remind me about that in our next videos, okay? And Mara's wondering, as she's watching and observing Kit, that whether he trips for no reason and forgets these steps or just pretends to forget these practice moves when they're sparring just to be close with him. It's just very tragic to know this happened to Kit. He deserves so much better in this. And then we get to the scene where, Lenny is talking to Blair. Like, Blair is sharing how she doesn't want to be in Loot anymore. She doesn't want to be in Illiya anymore. She wants to be free. She wants to own her own bakery. She doesn't want to be in her mother's control. She doesn't want to take over her father. She doesn't enjoy being the brutalness that she shows everybody. She doesn't want to be that girl. She wants to change. And Lenny's like, okay, fine. I promise that I'll let you out of this place. And he makes a plan. He makes it that Paedyn, who we see in Fearless, is so rushed on killing her, and Lenny's like, yeah, we have to let her do just that, and we're going to pretend like Blair is not really going to die, so they're going to pretend. So yeah, this whole Blair dying thing was a plan, as predicted, but it was really cool thing to see. So we learned that this was all planned, and then the scene comes where Paedyn actually comes to kill Blair. We learned that. And then what happens is, what they plan is that Blair has the ability to move out. Oh, and did I forget to mention that her chimney leads to one of those tunnels that let you out of the palace? And so Lenny's like, okay, so the entire room is going to be flamed with fire, and you're going to pretend to be swarmed up by it, and then you're going to escape from behind that chimney, and I'm going to take care of Paedyn and say that I took care of your body. But we all know how that fight went in Fearless. If you haven't read Fearless yet, what are you doing here? Okay, whatever. So we all know how the fight ended and how Blair pretty much got half of her face burned when Paedyn held her face to the fire, and it was just Blair was just so weak, and then she saw Mara, and Mara told her to get up and escape. That is the only way she can live. Otherwise, well, that burn wouldn't kill her, but she would forever be in control of her mother and probably live in humiliation because an ordinary did that to her. So Blair escapes with profound strongness, and we see Lenny making up to Blair that night with the antidote, and it obviously doesn't do anything to the scars. Blair thinks that her face is ruined, but Lenny says it was not, and that she can wear the scar very proudly. And that is a very sweet scene, we can totally see. It was hinted in all throughout Fearless that Lenny obviously cares for Blair, and it's really sweet to see how that went out. I mean, I obviously hate Blair for killing our sweet Adena, but after hearing her part of the story, I think that it was well justified. Not really, but I can understand from her perspective now. Not that I forgive her for that, but yeah, she was desperate enough to try for her life too. Okay, moving on. It is Kit's POV now, and Kit's condition is now like worsening even more. Like, he's now bleeding from his mouth and everything, and he goes to Kai's room to talk to him and lets him know about his plan for the third trial that Paedyn's about to go through. And we all know that is the closet scene where Paedyn was hiding behind the closet. And we all thought that Kit probably didn't know. Well, he did. He just didn't care enough for that. He didn't see Paedyn as anything personal. It was just, he didn't even care, okay? It was just completely political. And he thought that he was doing Kai and the future generation a good thing. He thought that this would benefit them. A very stupid plan if you ask me, but he meant good. And in that scene we think that probably Kit doesn't know that Paedyn is at Kai's closet, but Mara lets him know, obviously. Mara is a very funny woman, have I mentioned though? So in that scene, Kit is also very sad that he'll have to leave his brother soon. But he also thinks it's for a good reason, and when they retrieve, Kit and Mara talk. There are very sweet scenes to give us the breather we need right before the sadness hits. So yeah, this was a very roller coaster of emotion. I really do not like reaching the peak of sadness. I really don't. So I like these little sprinkles of happiness that Lauren gives us, which didn't prove to be much promising though. Anyway, Kit asks Mara how the dead feels, and she tells them that most of them struggle, though it is useless completely in the face of death. You just can't scream because nobody's there to hear you. And Kit says, would it be easier for her if he died without any resistance? And Mara says infinitely. Kit agrees that he'll go gently for her. That quote that broke the fandom, obviously. And then we have the Fearless epilogue, and we see how Makato Khitan, or Max as we know him, comes to the third trial where Paedyn thinks that she and Kai are fighting, but it's really just Mac, and he's like, yeah, Paedyn, you gotta die. It's really nothing personal, but you just have to. And he's watching, and he's also feeling guilty that maybe he is a monster because Kai is totally going to be mad about it. And maybe Kai will hate him for doing that because we know how that ends. And when Mac finally doesn't kill Paedyn and ends up killing himself to be with Adena, Kit is more devastated that even as another body, even as Mac, Kai chooses her, Kai will always keep choosing Paedyn over Kit. That is what Kit thinks, and he is even more devastated by that. And his condition is even more worsening now. And moving forward to Lenny and Blair. Blair is now living in another part of Illiya, like loot or something. And Lenny's been the one who is companion to her, providing for her and everything. And Blair explains how right after Kit and Paedyn are married, she's gonna move out to Tando, which is another map at the Powerless World. Another place at the map of Powerless World, and they're like bickering. Their bickering is very fun though to read. It just soothes some of the pain that we get from sufferance of Kit. So Blair, obviously the princess, like, she is, mocks Lenny that how he is an imperial who is not, who didn't have such a lavish life as hers. And Lenny is like, I did not choose to be an imperial because of lavishness. He chose to be an imperial because he can get respect, which Blair doesn't really understand. But then they have a very sweet conversation, and Lenny confesses how he'd know her by the beat of her heart, that he tries to memorize but in vain. And Blair is like, do not waste your heart on me. And Lenny's like, what are you talking about? And when speaking of her going to Tando, Lenny tells her that he will also go with her, whether or not she likes. And Blair, at first reluctant, agrees to the idea. Bickering, obviously, but we know what's going on, and it's really sweet. And Kit is even more worsening, like his memory is now in shambles, he just can't remember. Then we get to the scene where he sees the letters in his mother's jewelry box and is like, if I'm not the eligible heir, then Paedyn must be. Yeah. And at this point, he just can't remember his own memories, like, he just goes from place to place, the plague is taking over his mind, he's like, I'm insane or something, and he's wondering why this is happening. He's not really feeling comfortable, and he doesn't remember his wedding at all. He doesn't think it's special at all. And while the wedding is going on, he's wondering what Kai would think, because he knows about Paedyn and Kai, and he's still deciding to go through that. So he is like, what if I am the monster? What if Kai hates me for it? Like, these are his constant thoughts at this moment. And Mara, through all the conversations that she has with Kit and seeing Blair and Lenny and Kai and Paedyn, she's like, yeah, maybe we can give this Azer a go. Maybe this time this won't go wrong. Maybe we can give this Azer a chance and everything. So she comes one day to his room to find him writing, obviously. And she's very much happy and speaking about how their eternity is about to begin. And she used the word we, so that's an emphasis on that. So she says that, and Kit is like, what do you mean by our eternity? And Mara's like, you gave up your soul to be with me, so we're obviously going to be together. We could rule the Moors. She's so happy. I honestly feel so bad for her. Lauren promised us a romantasy. This was a devastation. Well, except for Lenny and Blair, obviously. But yeah, Kit is more like, but you're death. Yes, I enjoyed our company, but I didn't want to be with you. I enjoyed our time together, but we can't be together. And this snaps Blair. This snaps Mara out of her delusion that she can be together with an Azer, and she is recalling what the past Azer, the ancestor of Kit, says. Probably Fabian Azer, because somewhere in the book it is hinted that Fabian Azer started the plague, and somewhere it is written that the plague had some connection to Mara. So it was probably Fabian, but I'm not really sure. However, she's recalling those past events, that conversation that was laid out like that, and she just got mad. She's just exploding. She's like a firework. She's just exploding like a firework now. And like, you think you're better than me? Well, guess what? Your death is in my hand. You belong to me, and now you regret it. You regret not accepting me, because all of you is already mine, and you could have what I had, what's left of mine, but you chose not to. Now your death is going to be even more painful. So yeah, Kit is even more devastated as he is wondering, can't she see I'm not capable of that? And he's now wondering how he worsened everything, and he just made it inevitable. He just made his miserability inevitable. Yeah, he's so sad about that. And so am I. And then we're led back to that scene where he literally forgot to dodge. And yeah, do I have to repeat? We will literally go through that scene. And I'm reliving this right now as I'm explaining it to you. So please give this video a like, because I'm going through so much emotional trauma. Like, I'm reliving the situations that I had to go through when I was reading Fear of the Book. So anyway, and we find out that during that scene, during the fight, during the insults that Kit threw towards Paedyn, were basically, he was consumed by the plague, and he doesn't really remember anything except for that one time when the stroker met his chest. And when he opened his eyes and looked, it was Kai holding the stroker, but it was not Kai who drove it to his chest. It was Mara. Yes, Mara, who was very mad and very much the monster that she hides herself to be. And Kit can't feel any pain. He's just numb and still decides to go gently for her. So I guess this is a type of complexity, this relationship with Mara, that at least Kit feels. Like, he's not in love with her, but he also doesn't hate her. He like cares for her. He understands her, but he just isn't ready to be with her. So he goes down gently for her. Don't ever make me relive that scene, please. So moving on, we see that now I understand what the epilogue at Fearless meant. When Kit was like, "Is this the Moors?" and Mara's like, "No, it is not." So Mara basically did not bring him to the Moors. She directly transported him into peace. So yeah, Kit was in peace for a while, and he's just getting used to his peace, and his mind doesn't blabble anymore, and yeah, he's just now at peace. And then after some times, we see Mara visit him, and Kit is like, "What happened?" And Mara's like, "Ha ha ha. You thought that you could get away with this? You thought you could get away from the Moors that easily? Everybody has to earn it, and you're getting it for free? Nah, not happening. I only gave you peace so I could yank it away from you." So Mara's right now very cruel to him, and I can see why that happened. I still feel so bad for them, for the both of them, really. I'm not taking any sides, because both of them went through so much. They deserve happiness, really, in whatever path they choose. They deserve happiness. 5 years forward, Mara is now walking through Tandos, and now she sees Blair and Lenny, and Lenny is able to see her because he has the sixth sense, and Mara still can't be seen by Blair, only by Lenny, and wonders how, when Lenny greets him, that this is the first greeting she's got in years, because she can't be seen by humans. And when she's walking through, she sees Kai and Paedyn walking with their daughter, who has an earcorn in her hands, and She's walking through the meadow of an acorn, carrying it in her hands. And Mara goes through, and the girl can see her and says hi. And Paedyn doesn't notice it, but asks that, "Who are you talking to?" And Mara is like, "I finally met my match." Here's the quote. Word, listen. So the quote is, here, listen to it. "The girl and her promising soul wave goodbye to death. This is not the last time they will meet." Mara taps a steady rhythm with her boot, though she no longer pretends beats belong to her heart. Now she finds comfort in the lack of such fragility. For she cannot be confined, not by life, and certainly not by man, but perhaps by a woman. Death smiles. She has finally met her match. And just like that, when we're going through, like, okay, it's time to close this series, like it's a conclusion, Lauren slaps us with "there's more." And it is hinted beautifully how their daughter can have similar powers as Death. I mean, Death does say that she has met her match, and it's going to be incredible. In the epilogue, we see, which is making everybody cry, in the epilogue, we see that Mara sends Kit to visit her prodigy, that is Kai and Paedyn's daughter. And when he goes to visit that girl, he ends up visiting Kai. And Kai and him talk, and Kai asks what the plague is, what the plague really was, and Kit is like, "You're better off not knowing." And then we see the both brothers talking to each other. Kai wonders for a moment if Kit is Death, then why can Kai see him if he's not going to die? Kit explains that he is a fraction of Death, like Death's apprentice, like Kit is Mara's apprentice now, but no, now is not the time, and Kai will not die now. There's more because of it. So Kit's time is up by the time true brothers talk, and when he is pulled back, Mara asks about her prodigy, and Kit answers, spews some lies and everything. He really didn't meet Kai and Paedyn's daughter yet, maybe, but he says that to Mara, and Mara told him something at the last scene that was something, "My king of Moors." So yeah, we're left with that. Oh, however, we do have bonus scenes from Kai, which is basically Kai writing letters to her daughter. If you haven't checked that out, here is a short I posted on that. You can read from there. The letters are also so incredible, and yeah, I have nothing more to say. I can feel that you are already feeling what I have. So let's chat, bestie. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because this book is closed for now. I will be waiting for more of that to come, and meanwhile, you guys can suggest some books that you want me to read, and I'm going to tell it to you. Okay? So, see you in our next video.